So without any further ado, sopranos, let's have a look at your part. Hi sopranos, how are you? Lovely to see you. Let's have a look at this Mozart, shall we? So your part in this piece is at the top of the texture, no surprises there. So what will happen is I'll start playing the piece, I will play your line, I will sing along. I'm going to have to use falsetto because obviously I'm not a soprano. I'll sing my line an octave below, your line rather, an octave lower, but I will play your line at pitch, okay? Do remember, if you want to have a rehearse separately, you can go and buy Andrew's choral line tracks. They're very, very good indeed. So let's have a look at our scores, please. And if I could ask you to either sit up with your back straight, away from the edge of the chair, or stand, so we get that lovely column of air and we can produce a really nice sound. So just to say the pronunciation here, Ave, Ave, Verum Corpus. And notice the sound, Verum Corpus. I want the lips pushed forward there, otherwise we'll get Verum Corpus, which isn't actually as nice a sound. Natum de Maria Virgine, Virgine, please. Vere passum immolatum in cruce, and there you can roll your R's, that would be lovely. If you can't, just make the appropriate noise if you can. In cruce pro homine. All right. So this is the opening line for you. In fact, I'll play you the introduction as well because it's rather lovely. To take a breath, so I'm going to ask everybody to take a crotchet, a one beat rest at the end of that note, okay? So we sing and they have time to breathe, and then we carry on. So what I'd like to do is to sing from the beginning to there. The section that follows, the little section, is unlike the bits that have come before, but everything up until now is based on the same sort of pattern, okay? So we start there. Please make sure as you're singing that you're allowing your smile to touch your eyes, okay? This is a very warm and very loving piece. Let's have that introduction. There's your first note, and the introduction is... job. Well done, sopranos. And then you have this glorious moment where your voices are, for the first time in the piece, the sopranos are heard without everybody else. Okay, the sopranos sort of set off on their own and are joined then by the choir underneath, and you end up with this wonderful clash. So what I want you to do for me, sopranos, please, is on that D, on that note on in cru, when we sing it in a minute, I'm going to ask you to just give it a bit of extra support and sing through it and crescendo, get louder, so that when that note goes over the bar line into the next bar, and we get that clash, you've grown into that moment. So we have that wonderful rush of, oh goodness me, there's a clash, and then immediately it resolves and we come down the scale and everything is right with the world. Okay, so your line is in cruce pro homine. All right, let's try that together. In cru. Nice deep breath after 3. 1, 2, 3. In cru. again of that note, because I need you to dovetail with the orchestra and come off there. Thank you, sopranos, that's lovely. So now let's look at the next bit, and of course if you want to go back and just rehearse that, just rewind the video. It's the advantage. I'd like to see you try and rewind your conductor in rehearsals normally, or you can rewind me as much as you like. So carrying on, Curious Latus. There's a little bit of instrumental interlude to give the choir and the listeners a chance to think about what's just been said and to look forward to the next bit. So I'll just play that, it's gorgeous. So that is the little instrumental interlude, and then you come in on that note, the A, the same note you started the piece on, okay, and we sing Curious Latus. And again, can I invite you to make the K at the start quite a back of the throat k sound rather than a K. Curious Latus. Say that for me. Curious Latus. Thank you. And now we sing together, and Curious Latus. Sing that for me again, and Curious Latus, and then we sing Perforatum una fuxit et sanguine. Okay, so we go from the higher note there, from per, for, and we just meander on down to that note there. Okay, so over the course of 4 or 5 bars we go from the highest note in the piece to the lowest note. Okay, and with that should come a sense of coming home, should come a sense of warmth, particularly towards the end. So Curious Latus, let's sing the whole thing from, that's bar 22. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Curious Latus, perforatum. Deep breath. Una fuxit et sanguine. Lovely. The note on there is only 2 beats, just note that. And can I just ask you, and I'll say the same to everybody, when we sing sanguine, okay, it's blood, make sure you make it a big R sound, okay, a dropped jaw, so that we end up with a lovely sort of whoosh on that note, all right? So now we come to the third section of the piece, Sopranos, and this is a lovely moment where the altos and sopranos are working together almost against the tenors and basses, and there is this build-up of tension. So the sopranos and altos start with this lovely restful pair of notes, an F sharp and a D, but then the tenors and basses have to come in and spoil it. They come in with those notes and they create a tension in the music, which then you undo, and they then create tension again. You sing against them until finally you all agree, and you have this wonderful interrupted cadence. Then sopranos, you leap above the texture and you have this really intense. I know I said at the start the highest note in the piece was a D. I'm sorry I led you astray. The highest note is an E, but shh, let's not tell anybody about that, okay? So let's pick it up from bar 30, Est or nobis pregustatum, okay? I'll sing it if you can follow it along, and then we'll sing it together. When we get to the in mortis, can I ask you to make that a really lovely tall sound, so we end up with a really pleasant sound, we don't end up straining our voices, okay? Est or nobis, this is how it goes. Okay, nice deep breath, 2, 3, 4. Est or nobis pregustatum in mortis examine. there, you will be standing and able to take a deeper breath there, or if it helps, you can stagger the breathing there as you go, which is what I would have done. So let's have a look at that all together. So when you're singing these long notes, ladies, please can you push through, all right? Est nobis, grow through to the start of the next bar, please, okay? So let's sing together from bar 30. Thanks very much, sopranos. Deep breath, and est nobis precostatum in mortis make sure you sing to the very end of that bar and come off with me at the start of the next bar. Thank you, sopranos. If you wouldn't mind having a little practice of that and asking the altos to come in, I'll see you at the end of the video. Hi altos, lovely to see you. Thanks for joining me. Let's have a look at this Mozart, shall we? Now, you support the sopranos. You're with the sopranos quite a lot during this piece. And just to remind you, the opening is sotto voce, it's under your breath almost. And can we make all the vowel sounds lovely and pure, as I said at the start? Ave, ave, verum corpus, natum de Maria Virgine. Okay, big sounds. Keeping your lips away from your teeth as much as possible so we don't end up with any buzzing. Okay, I'll play and sing through your line. And then we'll have a look at it together, okay? So we start on that note, it's the third note of the chord, and actually, if you listen to the accompaniment gives you your note twice, actually, in that second bar. So I'll give you a little bit of a nod and bring it out for you now as we practice, okay? So follow the line along. If you know it, sing with me now. If not, we'll sing it again in a minute. Here we go. There's your note, and again, deep breath. That's your line, and I think you'll agree it's very simple and very beautiful, and you have more than any other part in this piece, you will find yourself just sticking to the same note quite often, which is a way of building harmonic intensity. One of the strongest movements, in fact the strongest movement in terms of harmonic movement, is to stay on the same note. So sing that one with me, okay? I'll give you the introduction again. There's your first note. A nice deep breath, please, altos. And here's your introduction. You can let that breath out and take another one. Here we go. Well done. Okay, now going on, there's a little bit of an instrumental interlude, just to give you and the congregation, the audience, a bit of time to think about what's been said and for you to catch your breath. Okay, so the middle section. Okay, now that last note of the accompaniment is your note. It also happens to be the note that you finished on, so if you're able to keep it in your head, that's really helpful. We sing cuius latus perforatum, and in this in this phrase, you only have two notes. You stay on one note for a bit, as I said earlier on, and you rise by a semitone. So we sing cuius latus perforatum. Lovely. And then you drop a third and you sing about the blood. So please make sure when we get to sanguine, as I've said to the sopranos and tenors and basses, that we have a nice tall R, so we get that whoosh on that chord, and it's a really beautiful sound. So sing with me, please, on cuius latus, and let's make sure we have the oo sounds at the start. Okay? Thank you very much indeed, ladies. That's great. Here's your note. And cuius latus perforatum. Deep breath. Lovely. Well done. Okay. So now the third section of the song, ladies, as I said to the sopranos, you are working in tandem, sopranos and altos together, and tenors and basses together, and you come in one after the other. So we have this pair of notes, so the sopranos are there, you are on that note there. It's only a semitone higher than the note you left, so if you're able to keep that note in your head, that's really helpful. And so it's just, you have a moment of just absolute calm, where everything just holds on that note. And then the tenors and basses go and spoil it. They bring in this element of tension. And so you move off those notes, you settle again, but the tenors and basses can't leave it alone. They have to create tension there. And then finally, you settle things down until you have this lovely cadence. All right, so if I can sing this for you, what I'd like you to do, please, ladies, as I said to the sopranos, and I'll say to the tenors and basses, when you're on these long notes, like est nobis pregustatum in mortis, make sure you're making your mouth nice and tall, first of all, and also that you're growing through the notes, so that you're hitting the first beat of the next bar at a good dynamic, okay? So we start on that note there, and I'll sing it for you. If you know the piece, sing with me, okay? This is bar 30. Deep breath, 2, 3, 4. See what I mean about growing through the notes there, ladies, particularly when you get to mortis. An F sharp is right in that power zone that an alto has, so make sure you really go for that. All right, so let's sing all that together, please. Est nobis, bar 30, 2, 3, and est nobis pregustatum in mortis examine. Wonderful, well done, altos. And then the very last phrase, the sopranos, they soar up to that top D, and just admire them as they go up there and enjoy the sound they make. Now you come in on that F sharp, okay? Now this is a slightly trickier note to get out of nowhere, so what I always say to the singers is, as the sopranos are singing their G, you kind of have that in your head, and then as they soar up, you sink down a semitone. Okay, so that's one way in which you can find that note, okay? In mortis examines, the last phrase, and we're going to crescendo, we're going to get louder through in mortis, okay? The very long note is going to be very loud, or it's going to get more intense, I should say, and then as we go towards the end, examine, we'll bring it back down again, okay? So altos, your line is after 2, 1, 2. In So let's sing. Let's go back to bar 30 and we will sing from there to the end, and then I think we're done. All right, so from bar 30, starting here, Estor nobis. Okay, nice deep breath. 2, 3, and Estor nobis pecus datum in mortis examine. Apologies for the little slip there in bar 40. So what we'll do, I'll just do that last bit again. Too many things going on and my screen was flashing in the middle. Paul Workman blames his tools. So we'll pick it up from bar 38 where the sopranos soar up, and we'll sing that last bit and we'll get it absolutely right. So sopranos, they sing 1, 2, in we breathe. In mortis Thanks very much indeed, Alto. Some lovely sound. I'll see you at the end of the video. Hi tenors, great to see you. Hope you're well. Come on in. Let's have a look at your line here. So you start on the same note as the sopranos, but an octave lower. Do please note, as I said at the start of the video, that everything should be sotto voce. At the beginning, although you do get an opportunity to let your voices soar. And if I'm honest here, tenors, your opening couple of phrases is not the hardest piece you've ever sung. Okay, if you just have a look at your line, you'll notice from between Ave and Virgine, you only actually have 2 notes that are different, and the second they're in the second bar. Otherwise, you're all on an A. Okay, and just like the altos, Mozart has a tendency to use the inner voices to just stay in the same place, and that creates a wonderful anchoring effect and a really intense harmonic effect as well. So your first note is there. If you could have your scores ready, please, folks. And just notice it's sotto voce, as I said, very soft. And if we can keep all the vowel sounds lovely and pure, Ave, Ave, Verum, Corpus, Natum, de Maria Virgine. All right. So I'll sing it through. If you know the piece, please do sing with me. If you're new to it, you might want to sing along next time. Okay. So this is the tenor line. So at that point there, tenors, in bar 18 on the harmony, make sure you're opening your mouth nice and tall for me, and you sing right the way through to the end of the note. Everything up to in croce though, please keep it very, very subdued, very much sotto voce. Don't be tempted to push too hard and bring the notes out just yet, all right? So let's have a look at that one more time. Singing with me, please, tenors, from the very beginning. That's your note. Hold your copies up. Nice deep breath. Okay. Let that breath out. And take another one. Ready and deep breath. Breathe. this little instrumental interlude. And now you start on the same note, and it goes like this. Cuius natus perforatum, ulla fluxit et sanguine. All right, so notice you've gone from just staying on one note to actually having the most interesting line in the entire piece. You have not only some chromaticism, and chromaticism is where we move by semitone. It comes from chroma, meaning colour, and chromaticism was still a relatively new device at this point, so it's very intense. So when you are moving around by semitone, just be aware you have a lot of power there. Also, do notice that you have quite an extreme leap at the end of that phrase. Right, that's quite a leap, and it might be worth practicing a couple of times on your own. Okay, I'll sing it. You can practice it with me, or if you prefer, get the choral line up, get this music and practice it on the sofa. Okay, so we'll just sing together. Sanguine, one more time, and sanguine. Lovely. Make sure it's a sa with a dropped jaw, and also if you can make sure when you get there that you give it the appropriate weight. Okay, we are singing about the blood that was shed, so just make sure we have that lovely sound. So let's go from cuius latus at the bottom of page 1. Just listen to that. Cuius latus. There's your chromaticism. Then we come down the scale. Perforatum. Sing that with me. And perforatum. Fab. And then we rise by a whole tone, and that's slightly unexpected. So just be careful that that's nice and in tune. And we have ulla fluxit et sanguine. Splendid, thank you, tenors. Okay, so now we move on to the third part of our piece, and at this point the team split up. We have the sopranos and altos working together, and the tenors and basses kind of coming along and spoiling their fun almost. It's a wonderful moment where Mozart works with tension and release, and to begin with we have the sopranos and altos, and they just sing this phrase, and it's a moment of absolute peace, absolute calm. For a moment nothing moves, and then the tenors and basses, as I've said to the ladies, they have to come in and spoil it. You come in on that note there, and instantly you have tension. Something has to move. So the sopranos and altos move and try and settle it, but it's not settled because you have to keep moving. It builds to this wonderful clash. You're united, and you'll decide to do something unexpected. It's absolutely beautifully composed. So let's have a look at your line here. Now, in terms of where you get your note from, it is a little bit tricky, I do concede. The notes at sanguine is the same note. So what I would say to my singers at that point is, just as you sing it, I would say circle that note and just draw an arrow to the note on S. It's just a way of reminding your brain as you pass it, just remember how this feels. Where in the voice does this note sit? So that when it comes time to actually sing it, you've got an idea of where to pitch it, okay? And of course, with practice, you can sing it. If you get the choral line up, if you practice with this, you'll get it every time, okay? So let's just go straight in with your line. Don't worry about the sopranos and altos for now. We're going to sing from bar 31. Est or nobis, make it a nice full sound and grow through the long notes so we get a sense of give and take with the sopranos and altos. Okay, so your line, 2, 3, 4. Est or nobis pregus tantum in mortis exsanguine. And you see you've gone from this rather slinky chromatic line to sounding like trumpets, aren't you? Okay, nice, simple, quite stark intervals. So let's sing that together from Estor Nobis in bar 31, okay? And Estor Nobis pecus tantum in mortis examine. Splendid, okay? And then the last section, you do get a little bit of wonderful, slightly chromatic movement here. The sopranos are, again, like trumpets. They rise to that note. You then come in on a C. Again, pitching is tricky, worth having a look at choral line if you want to. But the sopranos give you that note, you think down an octave and a tone, and you sing in mortis. So just be careful that those notes there are C naturals. You've got a C sharp there, worth circling that, just make sure you don't go under the note. So let's sing from your in mortis, bar 38. After 2, 1, 2. In mortis examine. And just at the end, da, 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 da. And I want you to make that so warm and just infuse it with the feeling of how it feels at the end of a long day. To come home and just feel relaxed. All right, so let's sing together tenors from bar 31 to the end, and then I think we're done. All right, so actually we'll go from bar 30. I'll give you the sopranos and altos line. Okay, remember your note is there. All right, so we're going to go from bar 30. 2, 3, 4. Take a deep breath. That's splendid. Right, well, I'll see you at the end of the video. Hi basses, thanks for joining me. Sorry for the wait, thanks for your patience. So let's have a look at this rather lovely bit of Mozart. Just be aware at the very start here, as I said in the notes for everybody, it is sotto voce. It must be very much under your voice, and so we're not going Ave, Ave, Verum, not with that big heavy sound. We want to make it much more like a smooth legato cello sound. Ave, Ave, Verum, Corpus. Ave, Verum, Corpus, as I said earlier, making those vowel sounds nice and clean, so we don't end up with any nasty diphthongs. Make sure as you're singing through, as I said, that you are aware you are at this point just providing that essential support, as we basses do. We're used to shouldering the rest of the choir and holding that harmony, so just make sure that's a lovely sustained sound. So let's have a look from the very beginning. Your first note is a D, which is also the lowest note in the piece, so finding your note hopefully shouldn't be too demanding. So let's have the introduction and we can sing your first line, okay? Deep breath, and splendid. That last note, the ne, I'm going to ask you to just take a crotchet off the end, just take a beat off to allow you time to breathe. Now you basses need to, at that point, leap up an octave. It is actually one of the more extreme leaps in the entire piece, but we as basses, we're used to that octave leap. Just make sure when you go from the lower part of your voice to the mid-range that we don't swoop. and neither do we come in with too much force at this point. We are still sotto voce. Okay, so when we go up, we sing vere passum immolatum in cruce. If you can roll your R's there, I'll be very grateful. Pro homine, and make sure it's an sound, and we sing all the way through to the end of the bar. Okay, so we're going to go from vere passum, which is bar 11, and this is what it sounds like. It goes vere passum, rest, immolatum, and rest, and in cruce pro homine, and off you come there. Okay, so basically, if you'd be so kind as to sing with me from the beginning, remembering we keep everything sotto voce until the sopranos sing in cruce, and then it's like the sun coming out. Okay, so allow your voice to grow through in cruce pro homine, and then bring it back at the end. Okay, from the very beginning. Take a deep breath and sing with me. And we sing cuius latus perforatum, same note, una fluxit et sanguine. Okay, let's pause there a second, basses. Lovely job so far, thank you very much indeed for your excellent singing. Excuse me, just while I just adjust the audio slightly. So at the end of the first two sections there, homine, we sing all the way through, and we just allow that lovely instrumental line to move through, and there's that 3-bar pause in the middle for you to catch your breath and to let the congregation and the singers think about what they've just sung. Then we come in bar 22, cuius latus perforatum unda fluxit et sanguine. And as we're talking at this point about the blood that's been spilt, sanguine, can you give me a lovely tall R on that, so that when everyone sings together we get a little whoosh on that chord? It sounds absolutely lovely. And just be careful as we move, because there's so much at this point. This is the intense bit of chromaticism in the middle, the colour. So just be careful. There are a couple of little moments there. Cuius latus perforatum. You know, we're not expecting C naturals and F naturals necessarily, given the piece is in D major. So just be careful we don't make those sharp. And then the unda fluxit et sanguine. Then you can hear the tension, you can hear the drama in that little bit of movement by semitones. So just make sure when you sing it, you smile with your eyes so it doesn't go flat. Okay, let's sing that line together, please, basses. So this is going from bar 22. There's your note, cuius latus. Okay, nice deep breath, 2, 3, 4. Cuius latus perforatum, deep breath. Una fluxit et sanguine. Splendid. And just be careful there, ne is only 2 beats, so come off it. All right, and just be careful you don't come off it straight away. You phrase it beautifully. Okay, now we move to the second half of the song, and as I said to the sopranos and altos and the tenors, at this point the choir splits into separate teams, and we have the sopranos and altos together and the tenors and basses together. And the sopranos and altos, they're always trying to settle the texture, settle the feel. Alright, so they come in with this beautiful pair of notes, this major third here, which just holds in the air. And it's like a pause, it's like a lovely little interval right in the middle of the piece. Est or nobis. But then you and the tenors, you come in, and as I've said to them, you want to create tension. So you come in on that note there, tenors there. And so we get this lovely moment with tension, with calm, and then tension and calm and tension. It builds in intensity to this wonderful Immortis examine, this cadence. It sounds something like this. So the sopranos and altos come in here, you come in. Sto nobis pregus tatum in mortis examine. It's a really, really nice bass line. So let's have a look at that. We start on that note. We won't worry about the sopranos and altos for now. We'll just come in on our note in bar 31 on Est or nobis. Okay, so sing that with me. 2, 3, 4. Est or nobis pregus tatum in mortis examine. Alright, and just be really confident, be really certain about where you're putting those last 3 notes. Okay, they're 2 beats each. The rest of the choir is doing something different, particularly the tenor, so don't let them put you off. You stick to your line. Alright, so basses, would you sing that with me, please, from Est or nobis? Okay, after 4, 2, 3, 4. Est or nobis pregus tatum in mortis examine. Now the sopranos leap up here, and then you sing in mortis examine. It's my favourite bit of the bass line here, because of all that lovely chromaticism. The part we sang earlier on, it's basically a stretched out version like that. But instead of going back up, we want it to go there, or we expect it to go there. We don't want it to, we expect it to go there. But then it falls, and then we drop down to the low part of our voice, sotto voce, examine. Make sure we put that crotchet in, and just notice, if you're looking at the score, the crotchet there, that penultimate bass note, is against everybody else. That's entirely deliberate. So let's sing together in mortis, okay? This is going in the middle of bar 38. In fact, we'll start a bar before, just so you can hear that soprano line. Okay, so we're going to go from the last 2 beats of bar 37, okay? After 2, 1, 2, the sopranos, deep breath. In mortis examine. Lovely, let's do that one more time, please, basses. 1, 2, sopranos, deep breath. In mortis examine. And we sing all the way through to the end of that line. Right, basses, so let's take it from bar 30 to the end, and then I think we're done, okay? So I'll play the sopranos and altos line here, and then we come in on that note, and we'll sing all the way through. This is a moment of real intensity. Don't let it get too heavy. It's all, think string sounds, okay, not brass. Some pieces, they want you to be brass, some they want you to be woodwind. This, strings, please, okay, lovely and smooth, and legato where possible. So there is our soprano and alto line, our colleagues there, and there's your note. Starting bar 30, 2, 3, 4. Deep breath, and est nobis pecus datum in mortis examine. Sopranos, deep breath. In mortis examine. Thanks very much indeed, basses. Great job. Well done everybody. Now we're all back together. I hope you've had a chance to practice. Do remember, if you want to do some more detailed practice, if you want to have these fantastic rehearsal tracks, please go and visit the special page that Andrew's created for us at Choral Line, and then you can buy your backing tracks and you can have a bit of a practice. That'd be great. What we're going to do now is we're going to sing it all the way through, and I'm going to conduct and bring in the individual parts, but I'm also going to be the performer, so I'm going to be split screen. So I'll be playing on one side, but I'll also be conducting and bringing you in on the other, okay? What I would suggest is before you sing, please make sure you've had a drink of water, that you've had a chance to stretch and loosen yourself up so that you're in the absolute peak physical condition that you can be to get the very best out of your singing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the first quarantine chorus performance, and it is Mozart Ave Verum Corpus.